Good afternoon and welcome to P3 Professional Pop-Up Panel. I want to take the time to thank our guest panelists today, but before we get into our panelists, I just want to go over a few housekeeping rules. Students, make sure that you keep your computer muted as well as your video. Make sure that it stays on the black screen. If you have any questions, please utilize the chat feature. And now I would like to introduce our panelists. We have today Erica Taylor. Erica Taylor is a registered nurse and currently serves as a care manager for Spectrum Health. Erica has held various roles in nursing and healthcare for over 11 years. Erica received her RN and LPN from Grand Rapids Community College and completed her BS in Biomedical Science from Grand Valley State University. Erica enjoys spending time with her husband and 2 sons, as well as attending their never-ending sporting events and extracurricular activities. Erica is a native Grand Rapidian and an avid volunteer in the community. Welcome, Erica. And we also want to welcome Greg Hatcher. Gregory Hatcher spent 7 years in Army Special Forces. On the Special Force team, he was the computer/radio guy. It was during this time that his love of all things cyber grew. He separated from the military in 2017 and was a full-time parent to his beautiful daughter. Realizing that his daughter was driving him crazy, which I doubt, he began working at a VDA lab. Greg has done everything from testing a building's physical structure to testing a major antivirus product for defects. Greg recently accepted a position at Millennial Corporation where he works full-time as a red team engineer, hacking all the things. Gregory is married to his high school sweetheart and has 2 daughters. So I want to thank you, Gregory, for taking the time out to be a part of P3 as well.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you. And so with that, I'm going to start off with the question, and then Greg, I know that you have some slides to show, but when did you decide to pursue a career in the healthcare field? We'll start with you, Erica. When did you decide to pursue your career in as an RN?
I decided to, I always knew I wanted to be in the healthcare field. As growing up, I always plan was to be a doctor. So that's why you see my bachelor's is in biomedical science, because I wanted to be a doctor. It changed to like a pediatrician to OBGYN. Once I got to my freshman year, my life happened. I had my first child, I got married. I realized that I did not want to be on call. I didn't want that busy schedule, nor did I want not to be involved in my kid's life and the extra activities, just to be away for work. So a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation. Nursing came up. Nursing always been in the spotlight. When my freshman year at Western, I was actually in the nursing program, but I changed it when I went over to Grand Valley. So it's always been there, but I kind of pushed that back in the back burner and just want to go full blown to become a doctor. But then I realized different things that I did not want to do as a doctor. I took a class, Nursing 100, Nursing 101, and it was just all about nursing, how nursing started. The things that you can do in nursing is everything that I wanted as a career. And that's when I made that decision. Nursing was for me, and that's when I pursued my nursing degree.
Excellent. And what about you, Greg? When did you know that this cybersecurity is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I left the military in 2017. When I got out, I wanted to go really deep into cyber because I was kind of scratching the surface the whole time while I was a Green Beret at 5th Group. So I started working at VD Labs. I started doing full scope offensive stuff. So just penetrating networks from the external internet, from the internal internet, a lot of social engineering. So I would call people pretending to be like the IT guy at the help desk, and I would get them to give me their password and all kinds of cool stuff. Breaking into buildings when clients pay us to break into their building to test their physical security. So yeah, just a great gig, and I'm still doing that kind of work. It's called red teaming. Red teaming is offensive. Blue teaming is the defensive side of IT. So yeah, I haven't looked back.
Great. Erica, this question is for you. What skills and education is required for your position?
Some skills that is required is you have to have a heart to care for others. You have to be compassionate. You have to be kind. You have to be a good listener, because a lot of times you go into the patient's room, they just want to talk. You know, sometimes you just need to listen to them and just to make them feel better in that way. You can't be scared of blood. You can't be scared of all the nasty things that, you know, comes with being a nurse, but you just have to have that loving and caring for others. You got to have that passion, because your job is a tough job. It's a tough thing that you have to do every day, and you giving your whole soul and spirit to one, you know, to 4 or 5 different patients you have on your list. So you gotta have that compassion and have that kindness. My education base, as you have your science and you have your math. With me, I kind of went to a different route because I had a bachelor's degree already in biomedical science. That took care of all my nursing prereq classes. So that was all the science plus more than what I took as a bachelor. So I jumped right into the nursing program. So I didn't have any prereqs. So your prereqs is going to be with any major that you choose. You're going to have your English, your history, your science. And then if you go to a 4-year college as a nurse, you apply for a nursing program like your sophomore year, your end of your freshman, sophomore year, after your prereqs are done, with hopes that you get into the nursing program. So then you have your nursing classes from comprehensive nursing to clinical nursing. We do clinicals at different sites, different hospitals. I was over at nursing homes doing clinical sites. So yeah, you have all your nursing classes and hands-on experience once you get into the nursing program to teach you to become the best nurse that you want to be. So yeah.
Excellent, thank you. And what about you, Greg? What are some of the skills and education required to work in the field of cybersecurity?
So to work in cybersecurity, you have to be inherently curious, and you really got to stay hungry with your desire to learn. So, you know, I'll work 8 hours at my full-time W-2 job, but then on the side, you know, I'm learning programming languages, I'm writing offensive tools, I'm researching new techniques for moving around computer systems. I'm reading blogs, listening to podcasts, attending webinars, I'm teaching. So it's definitely more of a lifestyle than just an 8-to-5 career. You have to be constantly staying on the cutting edge of what the enemy is doing too. Like, so what are the TTPs that China and Russia are using, and how can we defend against those? So yeah, it's a very fast moving career. Like what worked 5 years ago no longer works. So just a lot of experimenting with different techniques and yeah, staying on the bleeding edge.
Wow, great. Thank you so much. I'll ask this question, and then Greg, if you want to kind of show your PowerPoint that you want us to look at, you can cue that up. So Erica, this question is for you. What is it like to be a professional of color in the healthcare field? Like, are there any barriers or anything that you face? What is it like being, you know, an African-American RN?
I can say it comes with some challenges to be an African-American RN. I'm not saying everybody or all people, but we have that stigma on us that we're lazy, we're not a hard worker. And for us, we have to prove ourselves on a daily basis. We have to prove ourselves to sometimes our coworkers. We have to prove ourselves to our patients. When we walk in a room, when they see you, they might, we say, fire you. Sometimes people don't want a nurse come into their room, so they try to fire us. But if you have a good manager by your side, they don't allow that. You're not going to allow somebody tell you that I can't serve you because of the skin of my color. So if you have a good manager, they don't allow patients to fire you. I've never been fired before. But then again, you're proving yourself not to the patients, but then you have family members you got to prove yourself. So everybody's always kind of questioning your ability and your skills. But like I said, at that point, that's where your compassion, your kindness come in. That's when you still stay true to yourself, because you know that you're a great nurse. You know that you passed the NCLEX. You know that you passed all your classes, and that you are here because you worked hard to be here. So you answer their questions, and you continue to strive for greatness. You continue to, learn from your mistakes. You're going to make mistakes in healthcare, and we call that human error, which is okay. But you learn from that, you grow from that, but you work hard every day. Your attendance should be excellent. You should not be calling in all the time, because that's what they expect from a Black person sometimes. They expect from them to call in, they expect for them to be lazy, or they expect for them not to perform. But if you perform every day, you come to work 100%, you say, I'm gonna do all I can do. I'm gonna be the best nurse that I can be for every patient. I don't care if they don't like me or they love me or whatever. I'm gonna give them the same care that I would give to my children, to my mother, to my father. And you come in with that attitude, no one can question your work. No one can ever say she does a bad job, or no one can ever question what you do. If you come to work and make sure that you give your 100%, and even the barriers that you're gonna face, you just gotta let it roll off your shoulders, because you know that you're here for a purpose. You know that you worked hard to be here, and don't let no one take that from you. So that's what, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Great information, especially about attendance. A lot of students, think that, I can miss a couple of days, or, but you building your practice now in high school. So I really love that advice that you provided. And Gregory, what about you? What are some of, what is it like to be a professional of color within your cybersecurity career field?
I've never experienced overt racism in the workplace. I've experienced it in civilian life, obviously. But I come from, in Army Special Forces, the field was inherently dominated by white males, and I worked in that environment for 7 years. And then I went to cybersecurity, which is inherently dominated by white males. So I guess I'm just kind of used to it. Yeah, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of Indian operators, there's African-American operators, especially just being in West Michigan, which is a pretty Caucasian place to begin with. I don't know, I feel kind of outnumbered. It's okay though, so. But yeah, I've never really experienced anything dealing with race in the workplace, so yeah.
That's good to know. Are you ready to show us your presentation?
Yeah, let's do it. It's all about breaking into buildings, so let's do it. So share screen.
Did I share it with you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right, can you guys see The Other Side of Cyber by Greg Hatcher?
Yep, it looks good.
Okay. For some reason, okay, we'll just do it from this. The full screen capability is locked out for some reason. Okay, so The Other Side of Cyber. So there's a lot of misconceptions around cybersecurity that, everyone's wearing a dark hoodie in their mom's basement and they're just hacking on machines all day. That is so incorrect. There's development if you want to write software programs, and then even within that sector, you could write web applications, mobile applications, all kinds of cool stuff. So I want to talk about a lesser known area of offensive cybersecurity that I do quite a bit of, which is physical penetration testing. So clients will pay us to test their physical security. So can we break into the building? Can we bribe employees? Can we make badges so we can just swipe our RFID badge and gain access to the building? So this is a badge that I used on a job one time. No, I do not work at AT&T. A really cool thing about social media is that whenever an employee starts a new job, they'll post it on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or anything really. and they'll have a picture of their badge. So what we'll do is we'll scrape those social media platforms and pull their badges off, and then we'll just put our picture over them, and then that usually guarantees access to the building, or we'll be less suspicious after we get initial entry into the building. So this is for a job that I did while I was at VDA Labs. We had to get into a data center, and I posed as an AT&T technician. We called ahead of time, which is called pre-texting. We said, expect Greg Hatcher at 3:30 p.m. He's gonna come and check the DMARC. So we did that. They literally opened the gate for me because they were expecting me. I didn't have to do the iris scanner to get into the building. The guy led me around right to the DMARC at the data center. Worked out really well. This is another thing. This is actually that same job. So we'll do a reconnaissance from Google Maps. We'll zoom into the building that we're trying to get into. We'll look for open windows, because sometimes the windows will just stay open for a long time, or they'll be at least unlocked. We'll look for rooftop entrance. In this case, we were flying a drone over the building looking for a rooftop, like a rooftop door or something. So, okay, this is also the same job. So I was posing as Gregory Hatcher, the AT&T technician, and this is my tool belt because I was impersonating a network engineer. This is actually a Raspberry Pi that's hidden in there. So that is a small computer that you can hold in the palm of your hand. So what I'll do, I'll go into the building, I'll try to find like an office or a room that's unoccupied, but there's also live Ethernet jacks, and I'll plug in this little computer, and that'll basically send out packets to the servers in the rear, and then we have access to their internal network from the external. And this is just me snapping pictures once we actually got into the data center. This is, if you can see these feet right here in this picture, that's the employee's feet that actually let me into the building. Poor guy. I think he got in trouble for that. Okay, this is a casino job that we broke into. So this is a back office. This is another Raspberry Pi that you can hold in the palm of your hand. And this is plugged into a computer, it looks like, and this is a secretary's desk. We got some scissors here and some dry erase markers. So this is another computer that we planted. This is the casino job that we did. A really skilled engineer at VDA Labs, his name's Cy, but he actually built this box out. So it looks like a computer charger, but there's actually a very small computer, once again, a Raspberry Pi inside this. And the cool thing about VoIP phones, this is an emergency VoIP phone on the wall, they have internet access. So what we did, we dropped the computer on top of the VoIP phone, and then we unplugged the VoIP phone, and we used that live Ethernet port to plug right in, and then we had internal access to the network from the exterior. So not to take up too much time, but this is just a slide that I made. To get into cyber, this is a lot of good resources, trainings, blogs, and podcasts. Some podcasts I listen to, Darknet Diaries, Black Hills Information Security out of South Dakota is great. Cyber offers free training. Udemy and Pluralsight are both paid for training, but it's really cheap stuff. And then what is completely free training you can do is operating systems, Windows 10 and Linux. Windows 10, if you don't actually want to buy a Windows computer, Microsoft offers free trials in Windows 10 that you can get, and Linux is completely open source and free anyways. And we all know that learning programming is free. So meetups in Western Michigan, specifically the Grand Rapids area, ISD Squared, West Michigan, which is the West Michigan Center for Arts and Technology. Anthony Tuttle is running a great shop over there if you want to learn about really anything technology-wise. And actually the CSA, the Cloud Security Alliance, hosts a lot of their events at WMCAT, a beautiful facility. And then MySec, which is just a local meetup, actually it's all of Michigan. MySec came out of B-Sides Detroit from 2011, which is a conference. So just a group of engineers to get together and talk shop once in a while. So yeah, that's the end of my deck. Hopefully it was insightful.
Thank you so much. One student just put in the chat, this is so cool. So thank you for sharing. Awesome.
You're very welcome.
So Erica, I have a question for you now. What is a typical day like for you?
Typical day as a care manager, what I do now, I come in 8 to 4:30. So when I first come in, we have we pick up our phones, we log into our computer, we log into our phones, look at our patient list to see, to kind of sign yourself to. Sorry about that. So we sign ourselves to our patient on our Epic, and then we also have our phones that we sign in. I go to each chart just to see if there is any needs of me. I'm looking at if I need to place referrals. I'm looking at if I need to figure out if a patient lives by himself, what kind of support that he has at home. So we kind of determine if we need to do what we call an IA, which is initial assessment on a patient. So I have 15 patients a day. Sometimes I can have a little bit more depending on our staff and who calls in. We do have to pick up other floors if we do have people who call in. So I kind of look at my list, see who needs initial assessment, see who doesn't have any needs at all. Like people come with like a DVT, which is like a clot in your arm or a clot in your leg. Usually they kind of just help that patient with medicine. There's really no need for care management at that point. But I work on the neuro floor, so I have a lot of stroke patients. I have a lot of seizure patients. So like a lot of my stroke patients, I do initial assessment. So once I get all that together, we have a morning meeting every day at 9 with our whole care management department staff. Once that's done, I go hit the floor. I go do all my IAs. Sometimes I can have 7 IAs to do in a day. Sometimes I have 8, or sometimes I have less. So I make sure I can do all my IAs before we have what we call rounds at 11 o'clock. And rounds consist of the care managers, nurses, the physician that's rounding on that floor, therapist comes in that room, and we talk about each patient on the floor. We talk about what their discharge may look like, the needs that they may have that we need to set up for them at that time. So it kind of gives us a feel of that patient when we're looking at discharge may be, so we can hurry up and get them out in a timely manner. Our job is to get the patients out in a timely manner, that they're not just sitting in the hospital. A lot of times they're waiting for care management to set things up for them. So what we do discharge planning. We make sure that their disposition is safe. They're trained, like whatever they need to go home or they need to go to rehab, we make sure that everything they have is safe, and we set everything up for that patient. So once I meet my patients, once after rounds go, I put in my referrals. If anything that need to be placed, I need to put somebody in a rehab, I send a referral out, send all their documentations that they need. I talk to families every day, all day. I'm on the phone probably 70% of the time, talking to facilities, talking to the doctors, talking to the staffing, nursing, different things like that. So that's what my day consists of as a care manager.
Wow, busy.
Very busy.
And Greg, what is a typical day like for you in the cybersecurity, the cool job, the cool career? What is it like for you?
I wish I could say that every day is the same, but every day is so different. If I'm doing a full scope penetration test or a red team, I could be doing open source intelligence. I could be scraping LinkedIn, looking for badges. If I'm trying to break into a building, if I'm doing an internal test, I could be moving around inside an internal network. I could be doing a web application assessment. I could be looking at a new Android application. Yeah, every day is different. The only thing that there's a couple constants. The learning never ends. I love networking. I love meetups, meeting new people, going to cons, speaking at conferences, teaching people about networking and offensive cybersecurity. So yeah, well, there's a lot of change, but some things never change. So
cool. And I really love during your presentation the badge, that just kind of remind me of like watching CSI, like someone can take your face and like add it to a badge and just walk into any business. That's just, wow. We're thankful for the job you do, Greg. Keep us safe. I have another question for you too, and I'll start with Greg, and then once Greg answers, we'll move on to you, Erica. What do you like the most about your career, and what do you like the least?
I'll start with what I like least. Reporting. So say we do a full scope penetration test. So we've got social engineering, trying to trick employees. We've got physical pen testing. internal, external attacking of the network, wireless penetration testing. And then it comes time, after all the engineering and attacking is done, the deliverable to the client is the report. So you have to show them all the work that you did, and that's probably going to be a 120-page report. You know, where Microsoft Word is typing ferociously. We've got screenshots of everything that we did. If we actually gained access into the building, we're taking pictures while we're in the building of the Raspberry Pis hooked to the network. So yeah, this is pretty common. If you talk to anyone that works in cyber, that reporting is probably the worst part of the job. We do try to automate a lot of it, but sometimes you can't. Like adding pictures, you can't really automate that. So, and then my favorite part is always learning new technologies. Like the whole game changes every 3 years. Like what worked 3 years ago is going to be caught by antivirus products and endpoint detection response products now. So, yeah, just constant learning, teaching at cons, going to cons, meeting new people. Yeah, that's my favorite part of the job.
Awesome. And Erica, before we dive into your question, one student stated, "Oh, wow, I didn't know nursing could require so much phone time. 70% is a lot." Now, can you clarify that? Is that just for your care management position, or is that the RN position as a whole?
No, it's so many different fields that you can go in as an RN. My position right now that I'm in as a care manager, I spend a lot of time on the phone. I mean, we have patient time one-on-one, but I'm not doing bedside nursing anymore. So I don't do meds. I don't do treatments like wounds, and I don't do that anymore. I am literally in the office. I do go see patients. That's why I wanted to stay with care management, because I would still want that patient interaction. But yes, we do a lot of phone, which the least part of my job is, you know, you have to be on the phone. And the reason why I say that, sometimes when we get stuck. We get stuck because we don't have a facility that want to take the patient, or we fight in patient insurances because they denying the patient for rehab, or home care or anything, or like we can't find a home care service. I'm on the phone advocating for why my patient needs this services, why my patient needs to go to rehab. And sometimes I got to go to my upliner. Sometimes I got to go to my manager to say, hey, I did X, Y, and Z. I try all that I can do. What's the next step? And then we get our medicine director involved, and he fights for my patient as well, that this is what they need. So a lot of times on my phone, I'm on the phone with, like I said, insurances. I'm on the phone with facilities, begging them to take my patient half of the time. I'm on the phone with family members because the patient can't speak for themselves anymore. They're confused. They can't make decisions for themselves anymore. And I'm sometimes fighting with family, not like physically fighting, but they don't want things to go through. They're refusing for their mom to go to a certain place, and this is the only place that accepting your mom. So like things like that. So that is the hard part of my job, is that part. Being stuck on trying to place my patient somewhere. The good part of it is that you can be an advocate. Like you're advocating for someone and you have passion about it, and then they come in to you in the beginning, they're confused, they're not speaking, and then when they discharge, they're maybe not back to their baseline, but they're somewhat back to their baseline. So they probably can still talk again. Now they're talking, and they might be a little confused, but they're remembering things, and they're going to go rehab to get strong again so they can go back home to their family. So my job is very rewarding. That's what I love about my job, the end results of my patients being okay. My patients is getting the service that they need, and sometimes they can go home. And that's the best feeling ever, that we took care of them. Now they're home with their families, back to what they used to do. So.
That is great. Thank you so much. So Greg, I'm going to give you this question. What are some myths about your occupation?
So yeah, like I touched on earlier during the slide deck, everyone thinks that cyber is just the field of IT, although IT was something that in the 90s, it's gone way past that at this point. Now there's so many different specializations to go into. There's development, right? There's defense, there's offense. There's people that just do compliance work. So all they do is HIPAA audits or PCI DSS. which is for people that have credit card data on their network. That's a whole nother compliance issue. So then even within offense, right, there's do I want to attack web applications, mobile applications? Do I want to do physical penetration testing, which is testing the security of buildings? So, and then as everything pivots to the cloud, you know, that's a whole other can of worms. The cloud has to be defended. The cloud has to be attacked constantly to make sure that our defenses are working. Containerization, like everything's moving to Docker and Kubernetes. So, yeah, it's not IT anymore.
And thank you so much for that clarity, because the career sectors that I try to expose my students to are IT, and I lump in cybersecurity with that. And now thank you for educating me. Now I need to separate the two when I host these events. So thank you so much for that clarity. And just now I recognize that, you know, the two are separate. Yeah. How important is mentorship in your career field? And we'll start with you, Erica.
Mentorship, I believe, is very important. It's very important to have someone that you can come talk to, especially a person that's in your field who already been through the things that you've been through, or who are been through the obstacles that you've been through, who can help you through that and who can talk you through that instead of just giving up. It's easy for us to give up, but it's harder for us to stick with it and kind of fight for yourselves and fight for what you believe in. I'm part of actually a African-American nursing program here called the Grand Rapids Black Nursing Associates here. So we have a meeting every day where we can all come back as nurses. We have like people who are interested in nursing, students that's still in nursing school, and we also have like NPs and RNs and LPNs in this group where we can go and we can kind of release, you know, some of the things that we're going through on a daily basis, or they can come back and tell us, well, you know, we have to go through this and you might have to face this someday. So they kind of giving you and preparing you for something that you might have to face in your career. So I think it's very important, especially just to have someone talk to you and just hold your hand through your process. Is no better way for somebody to teach you and guide you who already been there and done that. So I think it's very important to have.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And what about you, Greg? Is mentorship important in the field of cybersecurity?
Yes, mentorship is extremely important. You know, if I'm working on a really challenging problem, like I can't bypass this antivirus solution while I'm doing a penetration test, having a resource to reach out to and not really tell me the answer, but tell me maybe you should go in this direction, or have you tried this? Like, have you read this blog where like maybe the solution is in the blog that I need to read? So I would say it's very important, and especially working in offense, being on the attack, it's easy to kind of get lost in everything you have to learn. Like you have to learn web app, how to attack a web app, how to attack a mobile app. You have to learn Active Directory. There's reverse engineering, software development. Like there's all these things you have to learn, and it's easy when someone is entry level to get overwhelmed with and kind of like spread their focus too thin so they never get really good at one thing. It's kind of like shining the sun on a piece of paper. If you just like shine the sun on a piece of paper, it's not going to burn anything. But if you put a magnifying glass and you focus the sun's rays on the paper, you can burn a hole right through it. So I like to think of like you need to really focus your attention on learning a couple things really well, but be good at everything.
Great. This conversation is so rich. Thank you so much. So I think I have just 2 more questions and then we'll go into the resource slide. But what advice would you give our students that are interested, whether it's the healthcare field, whether it's cybersecurity? What are some tools or gems you can provide our students? And I'll start with you, Erica.
I wish that I would learn prior to my decision of becoming a nurse. I really believe if you don't know yet what you want to do, I believe that you should go to a community college. Get your gen rec courses out the way, because you got to take that regardless of the fact. If you go to a 4-year or 2-year college, you have to take gen courses, which like I said, it's just like your English, history, math. You have to take all that. So if you're unsure, I would recommend to go to a community college. just to get those out the way until you know what you really want to do, because you don't want to waste money. As for me, you know, I have a bachelor's degree, and nursing is my second degree. So I have debt as being a bachelor's degree because, you know, I didn't really think about all the pros and cons of becoming a doctor. I just went and did it. So I just say, just really think about what you want to do. And like I said, it's no rush. You have 2 years anyway to take gen reg courses. So it's no pressure. Just really figure out what you want to do. And I say, if in your city or in your state, if you have a great nursing program, I wish I would have went to GRCC my first time around, went to nursing my first time around, because I paid my nursing out of pocket. I didn't take any student loans out for my nursing degree. I was able to pay that, which for young students like you, your mom is still taking care of you. So, or your parents maybe, or whatnot. It's something that they can afford, something that they can pay without you having to take student loans out. So I'm really a strong advocate now, because I wish I would have did better then. Now I know now. So I would recommend going to a community college, especially GRC has the best nursing program, If you go to a job now and you have somebody is graduated from Grand Valley or Davenport or a 4-year college, and you have somebody graduated from a GRCC 2-year college, they're gonna get that GRCC student over that Grand Valley student or that 4-year, because GRCC strongly do clinical hands-on. When you go to the 4-year, you got a lot of lecture classes. You do some clinical, but you don't do as much as a community college where we do a lot of hands-on. So I recommend, I'm strongly advocating now that a 2-year college, that's the way to go.
Thank you for those jewels. And those jewels are free, ladies and gentlemen. So please take advantage of that. And Greg, what final thoughts, words of wisdom that you want to provide to our future leaders of tomorrow?
There's so much carryover with what Erica just said into cyber. So she mentions hands-on training. She mentions like that hands-on will always trump lecture. That is the real deal in cyber also. Like if I had to choose someone that has a 4-year degree in computer science, but like can't hack anything, or there's the kid that spends 12 hours in his mom's basement hacking everything, and he can show that he can do it, that's the person that's getting the job. If they're like 17 or 18 and the person with the 4-year degree is 22, it doesn't matter. Like you have to be able to do the work. So a 4-year degree isn't really that critical for getting into cyber. Certifications are though. The top certification if you want to get into offensive cybersecurity or penetration testing is going to be the OSCP. I think it's like $2,000, so that's a lot of money if you're in high school. So yeah, hands-on training. A lot of the things I said are free. There's a lot of free training. So downloading the Windows 10 trial version, if you want to learn Windows hacking, Linux is free. Learning software programming is also free. Yeah, I hope that helps. And also for landing that first job, networking is really king. I know during COVID-19 in 2020, the in-person networking has, it's become kind of impossible, but hopefully 2021, we can all get together again, because in-person networking is really king for landing a job.
Dal, I'm sorry, or Michelle, I call you Dal, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you're fine.
So let me kind of reconnect those. So yeah, you have to go. Yes, I'm saying you should go to if you don't know, or if you have a good community college at your city. But you do have to have a BSN or MSN. I'm not going to say that you don't need a 4-year college as a nurse, because you do. But there are programs out there is for RN to BSN, which is you just pay cheaper. You don't have to pay so much because you did so many nursing classes. You just kind of doing like kind of basic like development classes when you get to that point. Or they also, where I'm pursuing now, is an RN to MSN or RN to DNP. So you have those lateral programs. The only reason why I can do RN to MSN or RN to DNP is because I already have a bachelor's degree in science. I don't need another bachelor's degree. But for people who don't have that and you go to a 2-year college, yes, you would have to go get your bachelor's degree. But you're paying less than what you would pay if you went straight full blown to get your BSN right away, because your RN you can pay, and then you also can be working at that same time while you're going to get your BSN. You could be working full-time, you could be working part-time as a nurse, getting paid as a nurse while you pursuing your BSN. They will still hire you as an RN, but they give you like, I think like 3 or 4 years to get your BSN. So it is a contract that you have to sign if you are coming in just as an RN, that you're gonna sign this contract. You promise that you're gonna get your BSN within these model years, and that's when you pursue it. But you can be working as a nurse as a BSN. You don't get paid any less than an RN from a BSN. You still get paid the same. So that's what I'm working on. I'm not saying that you can just be an RN without being a bachelor's. I just wanted to clarify that you do have to have your bachelor's degree, but there are companies that will hire you just with the RN. You just have to work towards your BSN. And you can do that while you're a nurse, and you can do that. You probably can pay for it without getting student loans out of pocket because you're in a career of your RN already. So I just want to.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarity. Students, are there any questions that you want to put in the chat before we close? So thank you so much, Ms. Taylor, for the clarification, and Gregory, Mr. Hatcher, thank you for just sharing those jewels. This conversation has definitely been rich, and I just want to share a couple of things before we log off. Students, please utilize, do you see the resource? It says resources.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. So please tap into resources. If you found that you've learned so much about the cybersecurity field, oh, and I should have changed that, in the healthcare field, please research those careers, those positions with ONET resources or Road Trip Nation. They can provide you with salaries and other positions that's within those sectors. And also, if you want to reach out to Erica or Greg, that is their email address. They have been gracious enough to share that with you. So please, if someone is willing to give you their information, that is what networking is about. They could potentially be your mentor. So please just reach out and say, hey, I really enjoyed you during P3. I learned a lot. If you have questions that you just don't want to ask during this chat, please feel free to email them. And then also we have, it says here's the link. I will email you students the link of a survey that we would like for you to fill out if you feel like this is beneficial, because we want to do more of these. And I just want to take the time to thank Erica. Taylor is near and dear to my heart. She is a personal friend and a sorority sister. Actually, when I met her, when I moved to Grand Rapids, I named my daughter after Erica. So I love her like a real sister. And Greg, you have been awesome. It was just a pleasure meeting you initially, and for you to just be willing to share your time and your wisdom. I just want to thank you too. And I will stop recording now.